You know that feeling when you walk out of a store and you've bought something you totally didn't plan to? Or maybe you agree to something in a meeting, and then later you're kind of scratching your head wondering why? Well, in this explainer, we're going to pull back the curtain on the invisible architecture that shapes our choices literally every single day. We're going to explore the hidden systems designed to influence what you think, what you feel, and ultimately what you do.
So let's kick things off with a really fundamental question. Are your decisions truly your own? Or are they the carefully crafted outcome of someone else's design? By the end of our time here, I promise you'll have a whole new framework for looking at the world, and you might just see your own choices in a completely different light.
Okay, check this out. It's a classic example of what we call choice architecture. On the left, you've got an opt-in system. You have to physically check the box to participate. Now look at the right, an opt-out system, where that little box is already checked for you. The result of this tiny, tiny change, it's massive. Participation rates just skyrocket with the opt-out model. But why? Well, it's all down to a powerful cognitive bias called default bias. We are naturally wired to just stick with the default option because, let's be honest, it takes the least amount of mental energy. In this case, our own inertia, our tendency to just do nothing, is being used against us as a deliberate policy. All right, so let's explore the first layer of this invisible architecture, the actual physical spaces we live in. Whether it's a room, a store, or even a website, the environment around you is almost never neutral. It is an architecture of influence, and it's been carefully designed to guide your behavior. This quote just captures the whole idea perfectly. No one signed a consent form. The architecture did the talking. Just think about what that really means for a second. The way a space is designed can communicate rules, it can set up power dynamics, and it can even change your mood, all without a single word ever being spoken. It sets these unspoken rules that we just follow automatically. Let's break this down with a few real-world examples. Think about a luxury boutique. The soft lighting, the plush carpets, that minimalist design. It's all there to create a feeling of reverence and calm. And what does that do? It actually blurs your judgment on price. Or picture a corporate boardroom. That massive table, the high-backed chairs, they just scream hierarchy and formality, which encourages you to defer to authority. And your social media feed? Oh, that is a masterpiece of engagement architecture. It's designed to create this constant stream of novelty and connection, keeping you scrolling for hours. You see? Every space has a purpose, and that purpose is to shape your behavior. And the tools they use to pull this off are incredibly subtle. The lighting can make you feel cozy and relaxed, or that blue glare can create a sense of urgency. Seating arrangements, they can establish who's in charge before anyone even says hello. The tempo of the background music can literally speed up or slow down your decision-making without you ever realizing it. And even a familiar scent can lower your defenses by triggering feelings of comfort and nostalgia. All of this is happening just below the level of your conscious awareness. It's wild. So if physical space is the stage, then time is the rhythm of the whole performance. Let's move to our second layer of control, the weaponization of time. See, controlling not just what you decide, but the speed at which you decide it, that is one of the most powerful forms of leverage there is. The source material gives this concept a really cool name, the tempo clause. It's the practice of consciously choosing the speed of your decisions instead of just letting external pressure dictate it for you. And this is so crucial. True authority belongs to the person who sets the rhythm, not the person who's just reacting to it. The moment you let someone else control the clock, you've already given away a huge amount of your power. This slide illustrates that dynamic perfectly. When someone rushes you, they are literally activating your stress response. Adrenaline floods your system, your focus gets super narrow, and your ability to think critically just plummets. It's a state that's designed for survival, not for making complex decisions. But when you deliberately slow things down, when you give yourself time to breathe and think, you allow your rational mind to kick in. You gain clarity, you suddenly see more options, and you make way better choices. Just remember this. Every aggressive sales pitch has a timer, and almost every wise decision benefits from a little bit of reflection. Let's just walk through this psychological trap, because we've all been there. The moment a limited time offer with a countdown clock appears, it acts as a stimulus. Your adrenaline kicks in, your focus narrows, and suddenly it feels like all other options have just vanished. Questioning the offer feels like you're going to miss out, and being cautious suddenly feels like being a coward. And what's the result? A rushed decision that serves the seller, not you. It's a masterful way to turn your natural fear of missing out into a powerful tool for compliance. Okay, so we've talked about space and time, but now we get to the deepest, most powerful layer of influence there is, narrative frames. This is the ability to shape not just a decision, but reality itself, simply by controlling the story that gets told. This line just says it all, doesn't it? Winners know that stories shape reality long before the facts ever show up. And this is because of a cognitive bias known as the anchoring effect. The very first piece of information we get, the first story we hear, becomes the anchor for everything that comes after. It frames our entire perception, and we then tend to interpret everything else through that lens. That first story becomes the truth that people will defend, often completely regardless of the evidence. And this is a brilliant illustration of how it works in the real world. The underlying fact stays exactly the same, but the narrative frame changes absolutely everything. A budget is being cut? No, we're practicing a financial discipline. You ask a tough question? Oh, you're introducing negativity. And when you try to set a personal boundary, you get labeled as selfish or ungrateful. You see? Just by changing the language, you can change the entire perception and the moral weight of an action. It's powerful stuff. So how are these powerful frames actually constructed? Well, it's not magic, it's psychology. It comes down to a few key principles. Repetition. If you hear an idea often enough, it starts to feel true. That's a real thing called the illusory truth effect. Then there's social proof. If it seems like everyone else believes it, we're way more likely to just accept it ourselves. Authority. We are just hardwired to trust statements from people we see as experts or leaders. And finally, simplicity. A simple, compelling story will almost always beat a complex, nuanced truth. These are the building blocks of the reality we live in. Okay, so after understanding all these layers of influence, I bet the most important question on your mind is, how in the world do we defend ourselves against this invisible architecture? Well, in this final section, we're going to equip you with some actionable strategies to reclaim your agency and become the architect of your own choices. This right here, this is your new blueprint. These simple questions can help you dismantle manipulative frames in real time. When you feel rushed, just ask, what happens if I decide tomorrow? This one question breaks the spell of false urgency. When you hear a story, ask yourself, what else could this be called? This forces you to consider other frames. Take a look at your surroundings and ask, is this space designed for my clarity or for my compliance? And always, always ask, who benefits from me believing this? This cuts straight to the motivation behind the message. We can boil all of this down to a super simple 3-step process for regaining clarity in the moment. First, you notice. Just identify that feeling of being rushed or confused or pressured. Second, you name it. Give the tactic a label, like, okay, this is false urgency, or that's narrative framing. The act of naming it actually gives you power over it. And finally, you neutralize it. Ask for more time, ask for specifics, or simply state your boundary without needing to apologize. So, we'll leave you with one final thought-provoking question. Now that you can see the invisible architecture all around you, you have to ask yourself, the blueprint for your life, who is writing it? Thanks for joining us, and we'll dive even deeper in our next explainer.